It's easy to think a pressure canner and a pressure cooker are just two sides of the same coin. They both use steam pressure, they both have locking lids, and they both dramatically speed things up. But treating them as interchangeable is one of the most dangerous mistakes you can make in a kitchen. Confusing the two isn't a simple slip-up. It's a gamble you should never take. Let's break down exactly what separates them, why it matters, and how to know which one you actually need. Core purpose. Here's the absolute bottom line. A pressure cooker is for cooking, and a pressure canner is for preserving. You can cook a pot roast in a pressure canner, but you can absolutely never, under any circumstances, can vegetables or meat in a pressure cooker. This is the central rule that governs everything else. A pressure cooker is designed to take a tough cut of meat and make it tender in under an hour, or to cook beans without an overnight soak. Its entire purpose is speed. It gets hot fast and cools down fast to get food on your plate. A pressure canner, on the other hand, has a much more serious job. Its mission is to create an environment so hostile to microbial life that low-acid foods like green beans, corn, meats, and fish can be stored safely at room temperature for years. It's not about convenience for tonight's dinner. It's about food security for the months ahead. The two devices are engineered from the ground up to achieve these completely different goals. Size and capacity. The first thing you'll notice is the size difference, and it's not for show. Pressure cookers are typically saucepan-sized, usually holding between 4 and 8 quarts. They're made to handle a meal for a family. Pressure canners are giants in comparison, starting at a capacity of around 16 quarts and going up to 23 quarts or more. This isn't about cooking a bigger batch of stew. It's a non-negotiable requirement for safety. Food safety authorities mandate that a pressure canner must be large enough to hold at least 4 quart-sized jars, standing upright on a rack with room for steam to circulate. Most standard pressure cookers are simply too small to meet this basic criterion. If the jars are crammed in or can't stand upright, the steam can't heat them evenly, leading to cold spots where dangerous bacteria can survive the process. The sheer volume of a canner is the first clue that it's playing a different game with different rules. Heating and cooling profile. This is where the science really comes into play, and it's the most misunderstood aspect of the whole process. When you follow a tested canning recipe that says process for 75 minutes, that time only refers to the period spent at full pressure. The recipe designers have already factored in the heat penetration that occurs while the canner is slowly coming up to pressure, and even more critically, while it's slowly cooling down. A large, heavy canner full of water and jars takes a long time to heat up and an equally long time to cool down naturally. This extended come-up and cool-down period is a deliberate and essential part of the sterilization process. During this time, the food is held at a high temperature, contributing significantly to killing off any lurking Clostridium botulinum spores. A pressure cooker, by its very nature, is designed for the opposite. Its smaller size and thinner walls mean it heats up in minutes and can be cooled quickly under a running tap for a fast release. This rapid cycle completely bypasses the crucial extended heat exposure that safe canning relies on, resulting in underprocessed, potentially lethal food. Pressure regulation and measurement. A pressure cooker and a pressure canner handle pressure in fundamentally different ways. Most pressure cookers use a simple weight that jiggles or rocks to release excess pressure, often with just a single setting for high pressure, which is typically around 15 pounds per square inch, PSI. Some electric models have low and high settings, but they rarely offer precise, verifiable control. A pressure canner, however, is a more precise instrument. It must be. It will have either a dial gauge that shows you the exact pressure inside the pot, or a weighted gauge with removable weights for 5, 10, and 15 psi. This precision is vital because the pressure required for safe canning changes with altitude. Water boils at a lower temperature the higher you go, so you need to increase the pressure to achieve the necessary 240 degrees Fahrenheit, 160 degrees, needed to kill botulism spores. A pressure cooker gives you no reliable way to make these critical adjustments. A dial gauge allows you to target the exact PSI your altitude requires, while a weighted gauge ensures the pressure will never go below the target, even if it goes a bit over. This level of control is simply absent in a standard pressure cooker. Temperature targets. Let me explain the relationship between pressure and temperature. The entire point of using pressure is to force the boiling point of water well above its normal 212 Fahr 100 degrees Celsius. This is because botulism spores can survive boiling water. To kill them, you need to reach a temperature of at least 240 degrees Fahrenheit 60 Celsius and hold it there for a specific, scientifically tested amount of time. A pressure canner is designed to reliably reach and maintain this temperature. At sea level, holding the pressure at 10 to 11 psi will get you to that 240 degrees Fahrenheit mark. A pressure cooker might also reach this temperature, but it's not designed to hold it with the stability and for the duration required for canning. Its goal is simply to get hot enough to cook food quickly. It's the difference between a sprinter and a marathon runner. The cooker gives a short, intense burst of heat, while the canner is built to endure a long, steady, and verified race to ensure every single spore inside those jars is destroyed. Safety and standards. Here's what really matters. Pressure canners are designed and tested according to standards set by food safety authorities like the USDA. The recipes are scientifically validated to work with equipment that meets specific criteria for size and pressure regulation. Using a pressure cooker for canning means you are operating outside of any tested, safe protocol. You are essentially guessing, and when the consequence of guessing wrong is a fatal neurotoxin, it's not a risk worth taking. Modern pressure canners are built with multiple redundant safety features, like locking lids that can't be opened under pressure, overpressure plugs, and safety vents. While pressure cookers also have safety features, they are not designed or certified for the unique stresses of a long canning run. The term pressure canner isn't just a name, it's a certification that the device is built for one specific high-stakes task, making food safe for long-term storage. Minimum canner criteria. So to summarize, what makes a canner a canner? There are two hard rules. First, it must be large enough to hold at least 4 quart-sized jars, upright, on a rack. This ensures proper steam circulation and contributes to the slow, safe heating and cooling profile. If it can't do that, it's not a canner, regardless of what the box says. Second, it must have a reliable and accurate method for monitoring and regulating the pressure, either a dial gauge that can be checked for accuracy or a weighted gauge that allows for adjustments based on altitude. If your device has vague settings like low and high and can't hold a steady 10 or 15 psi for over 90 minutes, it is not a canner. These aren't suggestions. They are the minimum requirements for engaging in the science of food preservation safely. Practical buying tips. When it comes to making a purchase, the decision is simple and should be driven entirely by your primary goal. If you want to make weeknight dinners faster, get tough cuts of meat to fall apart, or cook beans from scratch in a hurry, buy a pressure cooker. A 6 or 8 quart model is perfect for most families. Look for one with good safety locks and a solid reputation. If your goal is to preserve your garden harvest, to store meat without relying on a freezer, or to put up jars of homemade soup that are shelf-stable and safe, you must buy a true pressure canner. Do not compromise. Invest in a 16-quart or larger model from a reputable brand like Presto or All American. Decide whether you prefer a dial gauge, which requires annual testing for accuracy, or a weighted gauge, which is more foolproof but less precise. Your choice of tool should match your ambition, and when that ambition involves feeding your family safely, there is no room for error.